Hello there. Welcome to the internet. We're going to be launching Wave 8 of Fallout Wasteland Warfare, the capital. It's nice to see a few familiar faces in chat. Hello there to all of you. My name's Steve, and I am the average Joe on the street that doesn't know very much about anything here, really. I am joined by Jon, Jonny, and Callum. Would you like to introduce yourselves and say what it is that you do or done or would like to do with Wave 8? Let's start with Jon.
Yep. Okay. So my name's Jon Webb. I, as you say, I'm the visionary or the overseer, as sometimes people know me. So I kind of set the tone and tempo for the line. I choose what's in the product, what the product looks like, what colors the product comes in, what sculpts we do, what's in the boxes, and so it's kind of it's all the fun bits, and then obviously people like Jonny and Callum do all the hard work, making it actually look good because they are far more skilled than I am, and then people like Ben, our project manager, do all the hard work actually making logistics and all that boring stuff happen. So I think I kind of got the best job because I get all the glory with none of the hard work, which is nice.
Amazing. Jonny, do you want to say hi and what you do, what you've done?
Hi, I'm Jonny Lewis. I'm the lead 3D designer for the team. So basically, my job is to turn the concept, the desired object, into something real and tangible. And I also basically consult on technical advice and feedback. So to lead from a very pragmatic way, we have a team of very talented sculptors who have many years of experience between them. So my job is to kind of take a look over everything to make sure everything is going to arrive to the customer in the best shape possible. It's going to be manufacturable, and I'm there to answer technical questions and make sure that the visuals cohere and the styles cohere and the scaling is all worked out, and keep driving the team forward to push our skills and achieve the best results we can.
Nice. That was very thorough. You covered all the bases there. Callum, like I said, you're the new boy on the block.
I'm the fresh face. I am. I'm Callum. I'm the studio painter now for Modiphius. So obviously I've not painted anything in the upcoming reveal because of the way production works. This is. Would you say this is years in the making, Jon? Do you know that prepared?
Yeah, it's always that thing of we're normally kind of a year to 2 years ahead of what people are seeing in terms of sculpting, and then obviously the further down production we go, the closer we get. So like Callum, you're currently working on Wave 10 stuff, and obviously we're about to reveal Wave 8, so that kind of gives you a kind of a clue of, it's sort of really sad really in some respects, like your work is not going to be seen by the public for quite a while, unfortunately.
But for a while, it's a shame.
Yeah,
I'm very excited when you can.
Very worth the wait is what I will say.
He's been very kind. But yeah, I'm the brush jockey, as it were. I basically, give some colour to the fantastic sculpts that I'm given by the very talented design team here. It's basically the reason I joined Modiphius was the models are fantastic. So Jonny is being very modest, so about his talents, and so is Jon as well in terms of steering everything. So yeah, I'm very grateful to be here. So it's nice to see everyone's been really nice in the chat. So.
Awesome. The next order of business is today is a bit different. So if you were at ModCon 22, like Callum apparently, as we just found out, it was just hanging out in chat, which is nice. You will have seen that we did one of these then, and this we had loads of videos for everything. We're not doing videos today. We're just going to show you some pretty pictures. There's no videos. Maybe we're saving our videos for something else. Maybe we'll talk about that at the end. So we should probably crack on with Wave 8. And unless there's any objections, I think we'll kick off with the survivors. Now, starting off with the Capital Companions. So, here they are. These three lovely chaps. We're going to show you these one by one, but Jon, is there anything you want to say to start with overall?
Yeah, sure. So Capital's an interesting wave because it kind of represents the end of phase one, to pull a Marvel. So some of the miniatures that you see here, you will have seen 5 years ago, even before I joined the company in some cases. So this is kind of the last of the stuff that was quote unquote wave one. And I think that was a really interesting journey that we learned. We learned a lot along the way about how long does it actually take to release, to do a release cycle and to do a production cycle and so on and so forth. So this represents the end of quote unquote everything. So everything that you saw in those unpainted 3D renders that I will have no stead with anymore will now be released as part of this wave. Brackets apart from there's like the master. Someone literally brought it up today. So the master is not in this wave, and there's like a handful of terrain pieces. There's 2 turrets and a generator that haven't yet been released. So I think that's really interesting. However, it isn't just that. So I mean, you can already see from that image there. I'm trying to think. I think it was only Forks that was sculpted, and then the other two, yeah, the other two were newer. So one of the things I did as part of me kind of coming onto the project and taking over as the visionary and kind of setting the terms of engagement, the terms of how we release stuff, was about these kind of thematic blocks. And so I always knew that, like, the Fallout 3 stuff should kind of be in its own wave, but also I wanted to do a bit more. And as funnily enough, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've learned a lot along the way. And so this wave is interesting because it's taking what we did originally, but then really expanding on it and doing some interesting things. So finally, Forks and a few other models that I've seen every so often, some pops on goes, oh, I saw such and such back in the day. Where is that model now? Like, they're finally arriving. But alongside that are some even cooler companions and extra models, and we'll talk about hard plastic in a minute, but also the first of the Fallout hard plastic, which is a huge moment for us. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's the first set of 3. I guess one thing that's I guess that raises, which I think might be quite interesting, is Jonny. When we talk about stuff which has that, like Jon said, some of these have been around for a long time. Does that present any problems when you're sort of going back and thinking, hang on, we made this technically several years ago. Oh, I would do it differently now if I could. Is there much touching up? Is there altering? Do you go back and?
I would say we did do a bit of that with this, but not that much because well, it was kind of anticipated in advance. Let's say I've been doing this for many, many years now, and this isn't the first time I've gone through a situation where a product might be released years after it was created. And so for this reason, and I know it's always a lot of getting used to the way I tend to run the team, shall we say, when new people join us, that I run a tight ship and things have to be filed and archived and labeled correctly, and there's a lot that goes into the things that we keep, and some people would maybe wonder why it's so very thorough, and the reason why is because at some point there's always a challenge that 2 or 3 years down the road that file is going to be picked out, and we'll need to be able to find it, we'll need to be able to bring it up to speed. Maybe the person who originally was working on it is unavailable to continue working on it, so it needs to be transferred to another. And so thankfully that pipeline and process has paid off here, and really it hasn't been very painful at all. Yeah, and also there were a lot of really great sculpts in the first place, and it's fun for me to see some of these projects coming from years back, and not all of the sculptors are, some of them have gone on to do other interesting things elsewhere, and yeah, so it's been fun, but there's a lot of new stuff also in this wave. So
excellent. Yeah. Callum, let's get your take on these. So when you sort of see a set like this, what do you think first? Are you just like, that's where I'm diving in, or are you?
Somebody's already drawn attention to it. The sculpt on the Super Mutant's chest is really like well done. It's not too deep. It's just a perfect kind of depth for you to really apply some nice paint to it. Someone Forks, that's the name. I couldn't find it on there. I was panicking. It's a really interesting sculpt, especially as well when you've got kind of denim or anything like that. They're always really exciting to paint. So I probably will hopefully get to paint this at some point. I'll put it in my own shelf up over there. So yeah, textures, denims. There's some leather jackets there as well on Butch. That's always really exciting. I really do quite like working with cloth. It's been exciting working with that in the future waves. So
Cool.
that's my kicking off point. I'd say I'd start there.
All right then. Well, let's move on. Next is the next Survivor set, and that is the Washington Personalities, which I might be able to pronounce if I'm lucky. Here they are. Here are some people you might recognise. Waiting for names to be shouted out in chat. We of course have Lucas Sims, Moira Brown, and the best beanie wearer in the Wasteland, Three Dog. So, yeah, what have we got coming with these guys? Is there anything we can talk about which is like new? Because obviously the survivors are the original faction in a lot of ways. It's like, what are we bringing that's new to them with survivors in this wave? Is there anything sort of stand out, or is it just refining what we already have?
Yeah, I mean, the survivors are always an interesting faction because they're so character heavy, and so many of the NPCs and companions that you meet fall into the survivors category. So that's always an interesting balancing act. Mechanically, how do you make them distinct? And so they offer a kind of a support mechanic quite a lot of the time. They'll throw out auras and buffs. So that's the kind of thing you can expect. In terms of what do they bring to the table. I think the other interesting thing with the survivors is, yes, these are named characters, but it's always, if you are a survivors player and you just want some variant settlers or some variant scavengers or whatever, you can always just grab one of these and be like, yeah, this is just a survivor in a jumpsuit rather than specifically Moira Brown. I think the important point is Moira Brown has her rat repellent stick, the mole rat repellent stick. That's the most important mechanic she brings to the table. She can scare mole rats off with her glowing green goop. And yeah, it's always that fun. I've been doing a lot of writing on Nuka World, which is the next expansion. I've taken on quite a lot of the mechanical stuff there, and it's always that interesting thing of like, how do you translate a computer game through the lens of the Wasteland Warfare system that James wrote, and also trying to find that, like, what is that mechanical space that these models can fill. So it's always a challenge, but we try and we look at the stats in the game, we look at the things. So like Three Dogs got his kind of headgear and his glasses, and we can translate that into abilities. So yeah, they tend to be quite kind of the medium upper tier of stats, the survivor characters. So pretty decent, pretty capable in battle. And yeah, you're normally with like a mechanical buff in some way. So like Moira Brown, there you go. Let's give Moira Brown as a really good example. So the Wasteland deck, if you're familiar with Wasteland Warfare, you build your Wasteland deck, and we'll talk about what's happening with the Wasteland deck later on in the show as well. But it's the environment that you play, and so the Stranger Danger creature cards and the event deck, and then the items that you find. And so Moira Brown, for example, she wrote the Wasteland, or she coerces you into writing the Wasteland Warfare guide, the Wasteland Survival Guide, and so she can either re-roll a result or discard and redraw a card depending on which way you're using the Wasteland now. So that kind of represents that thing of she's a sort of survivor. I mean, she is a survivor, but she's a survivor. She's the driving force behind this. What becomes an iconic part of the kind of the Fallout lore, and so she lets you manipulate the Wasteland in a kind of defensive way. And again, to reiterate, she chases off those mole rats. So that's the kind of thing you're going to get out of survivor characters, where a Brotherhood of Steel character will tend to be a military leader who does the guns quite well, for example, or a Superman will be someone who wants to punch you in the face, whereas the survivors are more more around the kind of the survival and the exploration phases of the game. They also make great RPG characters. If you play the 2D20 or if you play the Wasteland Warfare RPG and you fancy a cool 3D representation of your character, I think you can't go wrong with any of the survivor characters, really. And yeah, they're always just really good characterful sculpts with quite interesting gear. So I think that's what we always try and do with the survivors characters. I mean, And some of these, like I say, predate me. I think Moira Brown was my second sculpt brief I ever did for Modiphius. And obviously, I write all the sculpt briefs for the line now. But back in the day, yeah, Moira, I think the first was the promo figure that we're doing with this line. Who I'm not sure we've actually got her in the running order or not, but it's oh goodness me, names. It's Rosa Meitner. So yeah,
She
that
will be
Rosa
showing
Meitner
her, yeah.
is historical because she is my first brief. So that's kind of an amusing, like, there you go. That's how long it takes. 5 years ago, I wrote the brief for Rosa Meitner, and 5 years later,
Yeah.
she is arriving. And then yeah, Moira Brown I think was the second or third. So that's kind of where we go with the character sculpts and with the sort of survivors.
I think as well, like, it's really interesting looking at noticing it particularly in chat when people, you show something like when we showed like Forks and Sharon and stuff like that, people will be like, oh, that's my guy, that's the guy I like from the game. And it's like, with all of these survivors, all these personalities, and it's a word right in front of me, which is probably why I'm saying it, every character is someone's favorite character, it's like, so you don't want to like make them feel suddenly very, oh, it's just another. She's just got a stick, It's like she's got to feel like that, and that's kind of, I suppose, the nice thing about survivors is there's always that kind of personality, that character to form the team around. Is there anything else we'd like to talk about watching the personalities before should we head on to the next ones, or?
Oh, I think unless Jonny, you've got any fond memories of
Yeah.
5 years?
I don't want to with every set be like kind of like. And any memories about this, Jonny? Just let me know if you've got anything.
I mean, this is casting my mind back. I mean, well, yeah, I don't really have anything more to say than that. It's just interesting to see them again. This is going back to the beginning. We're talking 2018-ish. So
when we do streams and events, like when we talk with the RPG team, and they're like, I can't remember, I wrote this 6 months ago. It's like, you have no idea. These things, that's peanuts. So let's move on to Survivor Set 3, Reilly's Rangers. And
so again, this is another set that people have been desperately waiting for. The number of times I see someone say, "Oh, where's Reilly? Where's Reilly?" So again, predates me, but it's a really fun set. And I think what's fun with Reilly, and perhaps something we'll see in a minute, is if you like your Fallout 3 combat armor and you fancy doing maybe some Brotherhood of Steel in a more traditional armor, or some, say, Enclave, just pulling a name out of the hat. This is another good set. So yes, it represents Reilly and the three surviving members of the Rangers plus one, so Theo. But yeah, but you could alternatively, with a head swap or just with a paint job, you could use them as kind of Fallout 3 era combat armor. And I think that's one of the things, like, we'll talk about it when we get onto the power armor, but like, we've made a conscious decision with this line where they are carrying Fallout 3 era versions of the guns. So I know someone mentioned in the chat the Gatling laser. So it's not the Fallout 4 Gatling laser, and we wanted to. It's a nice nod. It's mechanically we treat them the same way, but it's nice to be like, oh no, this is Fallout 3 era. We've done a lot of Fallout 4, and there's still a lot of Fallout 4 to come. But like, I know other people have. Trust me, I see your comments on the forums and on the Facebook all the time. Like, I know you want other eras, and so yeah, we didn't want to just do that. If we put Reilly in a suit of Fallout 4 era combat armor, it would probably look a bit odd. So yeah, it's just it's opening up the model range and giving people things that they can do. It's a really nice, it's another pack of 5 characters. Each of them's got their mechanical bits. Each of them, obviously, there's the heavy weapon specialist, and Theo is the kind of the gear jockey for the You loot his corpse in game. Let's face it, poor Theo. But yeah, it's a fun little set. It's a nice little painting project. You can use them in other ways if you want to. But yeah, just it's fun to play in all the different spaces.
Callum,
hello.
How do you approach, like, what would be your because obviously we said you didn't paint these pictures that we're looking at now. What would be your take if you sat down for this set then? Because as someone who's not painted in about 20 years, I have to admit I would look and I'd be like, oh, loads of grey armor. Help me, encourage me with your positive spirit.
I think honestly, flat panels and like plated armor like that's some of the most exciting stuff. you can get to as a painter, because you can really you can chip it, you can weather it. You got your edge highlighting if you go in for that, or you get some volumetric lighting. You could do some
I
glazing.
need to get back into it, clearly.
Honestly, it's funny you mentioned that. I was looking at these and going, "Oh, I like that armor." Yeah, I'd stick into that. That was, that's my bag. I love some chipped, warm painted metal.
Cool. As already kind of mentioned, we are looking now at Rosa Meitner. The promo is always a nice one. What's unique about this one?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the promo models is they're normally something that maybe doesn't quite fit into the game in a sensible manner. So yes, we always do rules for them. Some of them, the Mechanist, for example, has been a promo in the past and makes a bit more sense. So if you want a robot army, Rosa. She's a kind of a side quests NPC-esque character. She doesn't, don't expect her to be leading your army to glory on the front lines, guns blazing, put it like that. But it's, it's nice to throw, a fun curveball figure out that, I mean, wait till you see the Wave 10 one, it kills me. So yeah, it's something a bit different. And again, if you use them as, a cosplay survivor for your force, great, not a problem. Or if you want to run Rosa Meitner, she's out there handing out that sweet holy water, which is definitely not deadly in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, that's kind of that's our thinking. We always try and have that. What's that model that's just like this will be a fun painting project, or it's a little bit quirky, or it's something a little bit different. And we've had Grognak in the past, we've had the Mysterious Stranger. That's the kind of vibe behind them. They're just fun.
It should never be really something where someone can go, I have this promo, and therefore I am going to ace any match I take it to.
Yeah, that's not what they're about, trust me.
No. Like I said, I've seen the Wave 10 one as well, so I know exactly what you mean. But
I'm just for the record, I'm noticing the generator chat as well. I acknowledge the generator chat. The generator expansion will come, and you're all to blame for it.
That's what we like. Assign blame. Well then, so that is the survivors rounded up. I think the next thing on the list is, let's not waste any time. First up is Citadel Command. Here they are. There's some familiar faces here. There's some familiar faces in here, definitely. Rather than heading towards Jon straight away for the same, Jonny, are these ones you're more comfortable in regaling us about?
Yeah, sure.
Cool, crack on then. I want to give you the time to talk about these because they're amazing.
Well, again, we've got a mix here, and so 4 of these. So Star Paladin, Cross, Elder Lions, and Scribe Rothschild, and Sarah Lions are by our senior 3D designer Chris Pesey, and he is a mega Fallout fan, Fallout 3 in particular. He's the sort of person that when he's done making Fallout sculpts all day at work, he goes and makes full-sized laser rifle, replicas and hangs them up, in his office. And I've got a fusion core that he made on his 3D printer, painted it up and everything. Anyway, he's great with power armor and he just had a lot of fun with these figures. But this is a bit of a generational gap for him. The 2 in power armor were ones that he did a while ago, and of course you do 40 hours a week for however many years it's been. I think about 3 years since he did the power armor figures, and now his newest ones, Elder Lions and Scribe Rothschilds, are brand new figures, and you just see he's pushed the boundaries a lot in terms of the action of the pose and how natural and sort of action intense they are. And also the other figure in this set, Madison Lee, the Fallout 3 variant, is done by somebody that everyone will be seeing a lot more miniatures from, who is Ben DeBose-Dari, who's another very talented 3D designer he's been on our team for almost a year and a half now, but these things take a while to come out. But you're going to love the stuff that he does. He's a really, really talented sculptor. So I think this might be possibly the very first release of his in the Fallout Wasteland Warfare line, but much more to come.
So, I guess we're coming back to something we talked about for the survivors, but with Brotherhood, it's like, again, a very established faction. It's like what was brought to them new in this wave, or what's the focus for them?
Yeah, sure. So obviously this is kind of the Lions era. So Elder Lions, who I would argue represents the best aspects of the Brotherhood of Steel. So we were sort of chatting about it just before we come on stream about the Brotherhood of Steel have a slightly mixed outlook on the Wasteland, and I do see them as potential quote unquote good guys, but obviously different people take it very differently. And I'm no Elder Maxon fan. I think Elder Maxon is the very worst of the Brotherhood, whereas I think Elder Lions and Sarah Lions kind of represent the best. So yeah, these are trying their best to bring humanity back from the brink. And what I loved with this set is I kind of took inspiration from the scene in the second of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where Gandalf and Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli kind of walk into Rohan, and they kind of march up to the king. And Gandalf's just got this like total like boss strat on, because he knows that like Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas have got his back. So that was kind of where I took the inspiration for the posing with Elder Maxon, where he's Elder Lions, where he's just like walking through the battle completely unfazed, laser bolts whizzing past his head, and monsters trying to get him, and he knows that his daughter and his colleagues have got his back. So that was the kind of idea there. And yeah, it adds a splash of color. So the kind of the elder robes and the scribe robes here, they're very different to the Fallout 4 era, but it just gives a really nice kind of textural vibe, and just a real chance for people to have some fun with putting some color, because the Brothers Steel can be very kind of silver, and so I also have that that real splash of blue, that real splash of red. It kind of really helps bring them out. Mechanically, it's a lot of power armor. That's kind of what the Brotherhood do. Fairly decent, laser gun volleys, and obviously Sarah Lions and Star Paladin Cross are very, very strong, heroic fighters. They've got a kind of Sarah Lyon's got a kind of a defensive thing where she'll kind of like, if one of her colleagues or one of her allies is shot, she'll kind of move towards them to try and like save them or to help them out, trying to represent that kind of, again, that kind of nature of her being the kind of leader that respects and kind of loves her soldiers, and her soldiers love her. So we wanted to kind of bring some of that in. And Star Paladin Cross has serious beef with the Enclave, so she gets bonus armor piercing against the Enclave power armor troops. So again, we're always trying to find what are those little narrative beats that we can extract from the games and translate into a rule or a mechanic or a piece of weaponry that just people that really know the games will be like, oh yeah, I know what that's referencing, that's really cute. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And yeah, Madison Lee, again, it's perhaps people would be surprised that she's in there. It's nice to have a kind of a medic type figure. Obviously, again, don't expect her to be leading from the front, because she is not wearing power armor, and she's gonna have a bad time when the bullets fly. And again, it's just that nice thing, you see her young in Fallout 3, and then older in Fallout 4, and it's a fun nod. And there is that whole question of which faction does she fall into, but I think at this point, it felt like a safe bet to say, yeah, she at least is with the Brotherhood for some of that journey. So yeah, it's again a really nice character pack. You got a good mix of some power armor and some non-power armor, different cloth, different colors. So again, just a real fun one for the painters.
Definitely.
I'll dive in there.
I was about to say that feels like. Do you concur, sir?
Yeah, you touched on it, John. The pose of Elder Lion, it's like it's powerful, and he's not even doing anything. He's just kind of marching. So I think that's a credit to the sculpting team of just how imposing he is by simply just walking. And
it's like something from an intro of like a Zack Snyder movie, isn't it? It's like kind of like slow motion.
In slow motion. He's not. Yeah, he's.
Of course he is.
Yeah. No, the fabrics look really exciting, especially with that splash of color. You're right. So I think people will have a lot of fun painting those.
I really like. I have to say, I think Rothschild is one of my favorite minis in this set. I don't know. It's just.
Woo.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's not often you see a guy in a. Yeah, it's not often you see a guy in robes pulling like that kind of gun, that gun move. It's like, but yeah. So There we go. That is the Citadel command. Next up, Combat Patrol. Who do we find in the Combat Patrol? These cheeky faces.
So this is another one of those interesting sets where it's treads a line, and you'll see a bit more of this in a minute. But like, so these are Fallout 4 and actually Fallout 76 style, but obviously they slide in quite nicely here. And again, it was a chance to bring a bit more variety into people's forces. So as has been noted, yep, that's the recon armor. So we wanted to bring some of the newer designs from Fallout 76 into the line. So the recon armor is kind of more of a scout force, although weirdly they're quite special forces. So a lot of silenced weaponry, a lot of, you know, like go on 3 kind of stuff. And it was just such a fun visual look. That's, you know, it is combat armor, but it's different. And then with the others, the other 3 models, it's 3 female combat armor troopers, and they're wearing lighter versions. So the combat armor that we've got at the moment is full, like heavy combat armor. It's the full on, like all the big shoulders, all the big knees. And we wanted to have that kind of, like, you probably get that later on in your time with the Brotherhood of Steel. Like when you start in the Brotherhood of Steel, I'm not sure they're opening the kind of the armory to the best kit. So it's that thing, you know, you get some combat armor. It's still good armor, but it's not the full, you know, the full thing. And again, it's just, you know, it's a chance. It lets us play around with as much as this isn't a WYSIWYG game, I always try and sneak a bit of WYSIWYG in where I can. So it's, if you didn't want them to be wearing the kind of the heavy combat armor, instead you wanted that kind of light or sturdy combat armor, you can play with that. There's a couple of swappable arms again, so it's, you know, something I've been trying to sneak in where I can. So the recon armor are fixed, but the combat armor have a couple of different options in there. And again, it's that thing of, it's nice to be able to, you know, maybe pick a box up twice and get different figures out of it, or if you like to customize, you can maybe take that gun and put it on a different model. And as you can see there, they all come with helmeted and unhelmeted heads as well. So if you're sensible and you keep your hat on in the firefight, good for you, but you don't have to. You can instead have the bare heads. And of course, what that then means is, again, I'm sneaking more extra heads into the range. So if you buy this kit, you build them with helmets, congratulations, you've now got a bunch of extra unhelmeted heads that maybe you could sneak onto a survivor that you've got a duplicate of, or, you know, if you're weird, you can decapitate it and put it on a base or whatever it may be. But it's, again, it's always just trying to find ways of sneaking a bit more into the raid and giving it that little bit more flexibility and that little bit more fun. So yeah.
Yeah. These are, I think these are really fantastic. They look so kind of like, they look just, in a nice way. They seem really grumpy about it. They're just like,
yeah,
oh man, come
they're
on.
not having a good day.
They're not having a great day, unsurprisingly. They've got stuff to do, but yeah. Anyone else want to dive into
I'll weigh in on
the
this
combat
set.
patrol? Cool.
So the recon armor set was my sort of personal contribution to this wave. You know, most of the week I'm doing sort of administrative stuff, but I always ring fence enough time each week to make sure that I'm keeping up with sculpting and hopefully making the most of that to, you know, keep my skills sharp and still, you know, deserve the lead chair at any rate.
This is every time we do one of these, Johnny's like, "This is the one I decided I was going to do." It's like,
something cool. And I saw the briefs for the recon armor, and I just thought those guys are awesome.
They do look
and I really like that that sort of helmet and goggles aesthetic. And I also did the when we did the New Vegas release, the NCR Elite Rangers, and I had so much fun with those. So yeah, it had to be recon armor for this set, and they've got, you know, a great set of weapons. This was a great excuse to try some new techniques too. Yeah, I'm often picking complicated things, not just for a personal challenge, but to also try out some new techniques to see if we can roll them out to the team and help give some ideas about how to make miniatures more dynamic or, you know, skill up in some way. So the contribution from these ones, it was the first time I've ever tried to do proper sort of animation style rigging and skinning of a 3D model, which is a complex process. Normally, we kind of move the I won't get into the details. We've got a way that we do things, but rigging things allows you to have sort of a control rig like you would do for an animated character. Even though we're not animating these, we're just doing one single pose, but it means that you can get all the joints exactly the way you want, twist in the torso naturally, and especially when you're working on a set of figures that they're all going to be variants of the same figure, so they're not each fully unique. So this is a a series of 3 figures all wearing exactly this the same stuff, but with unique weapons and stuff. It was just great to be able to just dial in those poses, which was really exciting for me because I mean, the human body's pretty complex, and it's the work of years and many years left for me personally to get better and better at that. So rigs are very much a thing that are working their way into our workflow now, and I'm not the only person on the team using them anymore. So hopefully all our customers can be excited to see more and more dynamism added to at least the figures. It's not suitable for every single job, but it definitely has its place. So
Cool.
yeah,
Just
that's my
answer
sort of
chat,
technical bit on this.
Sorry, Jonny, I apologise for cutting you off. Just to answer chat, Darth Vadas, these are not plastic. These are resin. These ones.
These are still resin. We'll come on to the plastic. Hold your horses.
We will in mere moments. But yeah, so I think that's really fascinating. So it's like, is there much change really then to and presumably there's quite a lot of new skills to be learned from switching to like a free sculpt almost to something with that armature in it that you're talking about. Is that
Yeah, it's a big
I can
change.
see that in your eyes. You're like, yeah.
Yeah, it's still something that even I'm learning because basically what you're doing is you are you're creating your sculpt, and for all our sculpts, and the way we've always done is we create what's called a T pose or an A pose. It's like your Vitruvian man, sort of arms out. I can't do it at a limited camera. At any rate, it's a neutral pose, and then traditionally we would we use ZBrush or ZBrush for all of our sculpting, and it's got its methods for moving things around, but it can be tough to make things twist without sort of making the geometry go all funny. Well, the difference in a rigging thing setup is that you are exporting out of ZBrush, which doesn't support that sort of thing, and into a third-party program like Blender or Maya or whatever, and you're appending bones to the inside of them like a human would. Bones for the individual fingers, bones for the legs and all the joints, and depends on how involved you want to get. You can do individual rigging for the faces and expressions and things like that. Now, thankfully, these were helmeted figures. I didn't go that far. But once you've done that, you can then do what's called skinning, which is take all of the different layers of all the 3D stuff that you've sculpted and basically attach it to those bones. And then you just move the bones around, and you can just make it strike any pose a human would. Or there's lots of sort of motion capture resources for online, or you can make your own for being able to actually strike a pose that you're intending in front of a camera and then convert that into your rig. So you can get really dynamic poses that are going to be realistic because an actual human being was involved in making the motion capture data in the first place. So we don't always have time to do a full rig, so we tend to do like a subset of that. But even so, it's powerful stuff, and it's stuff that we'll be exploring more.
Shall we head on to the plastic set?
I think so.
Is the heavy armor, which it's these lovely 3 fellas. Yeah, so Jon, do you want to tell us all about this? Is the first plastic set, isn't it?
I really do. So
you really do.
Yeah, I really do. This has been a long time coming. So yeah, and it's like I'm literally holding it in my hands, like it's real, people, it exists. And actually, ironically, this is the second. this is MFWW P02, which is Modiphius Fallout Wasteland Warfare Plastic 02. So it's actually the second frame, but the first frame has been bumped into the next wave for reasons. and it's really cool. So basically, we managed to Steel of the Century. We got Colin to join us, and Colin has been making plastic miniatures for a long time, and has been making miniatures for an even longer time, and is he knows what he's about. So he's been working really hard to translate all the great work we've done with the resins and bringing his knowledge in, and to make these awesome hard plastic multi-part not posable, but like multi-optional plastic kits, which is, I think it's we're not going to convert the entire line over to plastic, and if we were, we certainly weren't going to do it overnight. But I think it's going to be really important to bring some of that in on like some obvious choices. And Power Armor was really where it was always going to start, because lots of different factions use it. It's big, it's exciting, it does cool things. People like big, chunky, stompy models. It's really cool. So the Power Armor frame, obviously, it's intended to be used with the Brotherhood of Steel. It's T45 armor, so it matches the Lion's Pride, Sarah Lion's Men, the Brotherhood of the Lion's chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel. But obviously, if your sole survivor has got a suit of T45, they could wear it. If your raiders have scavved some up from somewhere, they can wear it. The frame itself comes with the 3 models you can see. And loosely speaking, there's like heavy weapons trooper, kind of pistol trooper, and then rifle trooper. But why getting Colin was such a steal is because he has made it so that even though there's kind of these 3 core body poses with 2 or 3 options per set, all of them actually work with all the bodies, which was not in the brief and was not what I was expecting. But it takes what was already quite a cool flexible kit and just explodes it. So you have the ability to swap around and be like, oh, I like the heavy weapon trooper pose, but maybe I want the Ripper on him, and you can swap that around. And it's really, really cool, really, really flexible. And the next frame, the Power Armor that we'll talk about next time we do one of these, does more of that again. So yeah, like I say, that's the sample. There's a few tiny little tweaks. We're just making the last few perfections, but it's real. It can be shot. I just saw a question about scenic bases. No, we are not going to be doing scenic bases for the plastics. So we're a grown-up miniatures company now. We have our own plastic bases. So anyone that plays Elder Scrolls, you'd have seen the 30mm bases. We had those for Elder Scrolls, but we've now done 40s, and the 50 is on its way as well. So yeah, there are things I'm going to talk about next year. So we're going to put a pin in bases, because that's a big topic for me to talk about for 2023. There's some things I want to show people. There's some plans we've got, but no, these absolutely come with just your standard plastic bases. I think one of the things we're going to be doing. So again, we'll talk about the book in the later on in the thing, but Julian has joined us. Currently part-time, but I'm working to fix that, and he is going to do a tutorial showing people how to do bases. He's taken on all the painting guide tutorial work from me, because I just don't have the time anymore, and I think he does it better anyway. So with the Capital, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Capital's the first book that Julian's been doing the painting guides on, and he's doing a lot more on top of that, and he will do some stuff explaining how to get some of these cool basing effects. And it's one of those tricky things where, like, there are people that are disappointed that there's no scenic bases. Other people are probably happy about that, because hey, you don't have to clean those injection nubs off anymore. You just get a nice smooth plastic base, so that's a bonus. And also now you can do whatever you want your theme to be. But because I am cognizant there are people that do like scenic bases, there are plans afoot. So if you're sitting there, cursing my good name for taking the scenic bases away, don't worry, I've got you. There are several different products that work in slightly different ways that I'm planning on. Well, some of it's already done. The team have already done it, and some of them is still a work in progress. But like, there will be a solution for those of you who prefer scenic bases. But yeah, like, it's one of those weird things. I'll talk about it next year, because there's a lot to cover. Yeah.
It's a lot to cover, despite the fact that this isn't this safe to say this is like a shorter wave anyway. There's still plenty to talk about. So it's like one of those ones where it's like, oh, this is actually a short one. It's like, really? Okay, well, there's a lot of stuff to get through, so we'll see. But Callum, do you have any thoughts about from your angle? Let's talk about. And I'm sure everyone has an opinion about it, but let's talk about, like,
well, I'm
painting and modelling when we come to, like,
can't stop me.
plastic and stuff
I'm
versus resin.
Excited. I love plastic models. I love the detail that resin affords Modiphius as well. But these plastic ones, I'm very excited, because I think you can actually, even speaking on the the scenic base argument, with a pack of these, I think you could buy a second and start hacking them up and making some dead power armor in your base, which would be quite easy with a plastic kit. That was the first thing that came to mind. Actually, I saw these and was like, I'm going to take a sword to them, which is an odd thought. But yeah, they look. I'm very excited, especially that all the arms are interchangeable with each one. So that's a potential. What is that, 9? Different, unique looking power armors that you can get from this. So that's.
I think it's more than that even, because there are more weapon options than what you see. Like
Well,
there's
there you
a
go.
whole bunch of extra weapon options.
That's fantastic. And very characterful, especially if you want to put your own character's head on it, because there are some spare heads I'm seeing here as well.
Yeah.
I really love the T45 armor. It's so great. If you want to do true metallic painting, if you want to do non-metallic painting, I did some non-metallic metal on one of the older, resin ones, and it's just there's so many nice flat panels, there's some nice curves, sharp edges that you can really get some light values onto. So it's going to be very exciting for these. And that's not even talking about paint jobs that you can get on them. You can your different themes. So I think they look great. I'm excited for them.
I think they're brilliant. Yeah.
One other thing with the weapons, so obviously again, because this is the quote unquote Fallout 3 block, we went with Fallout 3 weaponry. However, we did also sculpt a bunch of Fallout 4 guns, and what we're going to do is we're going to release those as like a resin upgrade pack. So if you're a filthy Elder Maxon fan rather than a courageous Elder Lions fan, we've got you covered. This is the same design that you've seen with the resin Fallout, the resin T45 kits that you've seen from us in the past. And so we're going to do, like I say, it's same torso, same heads, but then you can put those resin arms on instead if you're like, oh, I want my Fallout 4 weaponry. So yeah, anyone that's like, I would like these models, but for my Fallout 4 army, again, we've got you covered. Don't worry. And again, if that proves successful, if people respond well to that, there's, that opens up a huge range of possibilities where we could do more of those. And, the one thing I will say with this is I tried not to do too many laser rifles because I think all really of the T60 suits are either carrying a laser rifle or a Gatling laser. And I was like, okay, I think we've done laser rifles for now as much as it's the best weapon in the game. Let's not do too many laser rifles, but it might be that you're like, no, I want more laser rifles. So we could do, for example, a laser rifle pack. So you can have all your Lions Pride armed with appropriate weaponry, shall we say. But yeah, it's a really fun kit. You got a fat man, missile launcher, an incinerator, and a Gatling laser. So there's 4 heavy weapon options alone. A couple of different rifle options, a couple of pistol options, and the Ripper. And yeah, there's a male and female head and 3 power armor heads. So again, you can mix it up. You can use it as a Soul Survivor. You could use it as a Brotherhood of Steel. It's a really cool kit. And yeah, it's a single framer. Expect more in the future. It's probably the best to say for now.
Yeah. It was like we did one and had enough really. It's like let's not do any more. No, we do. There's gonna be more in the next wave. So that brings us to the end, I think, of the Brotherhood, which leaves us with one more faction for this wave, and that faction is the Enclave. We are going to start off with the Assault Force, and this set contains 6 minis. Here they go. I think the obvious question is let's do what we've done with the others. Is like what's the overall view and focus for this faction in this wave, Jon?
Yeah, so obviously we did the Enclave, I think it was wave 4 now, so cast my mind back. And it's one of those things where we had to skip a few bits with the Enclave. Some new things came out since, and so the main thing I wanted to do with this was when we did the Enclave first time around, we weren't able to do a combat armored trooper, and we were just using the sort of Fallout 4 era combat armor as the trainee, and we wanted to rectify that. So the first thing I wanted to do was put some Fallout 3 era combat armor, and again, we always said the Reilly's Rangers exist, so that was an option, but this is another chance again to give some new opportunities to people who prefer that Fallout 3 aesthetic. You can use them as Talon Company, you can use them as Brother of Steel, or as they're intended here as the Armored Troopers. So that was really good fun. Again, it's nice to pay homage to the older generations. And then the other thing as well is, again, much like with the Brother of Steel, a chance to include a new profile or a new troop type. And again, we went with the Scout. So this is the Enclave Scout Trooper armor, and again, it's that kind of stealthy, behind the enemy lines, causing mischief, demolition runs, that kind of thing. But yeah, so it's a really cool box. I saw someone asking on the Discord earlier, what is the color scheme? Well, now you can see it's that kind of really nice blue, kind of urbany, camo-y-ish kind of thing. There's probably someone somewhere knows the specific, like, oh, it's NATO 737 or something. Who knows? But yeah, it's a really fun set of models. Again, you can see swappable arms because we like to give that option where we can to kind of expand the scope and give more reasons to pick up the boxes and do more with them. So yeah, it was a really fun box. It's nice to go back to the Enclave and give them some new options, and yeah, fill in that backfill that slight gap, and again give people extra bits. Someone asked, is there unit profiles for things like the Talon Company? Not in this expansion, no. But there's nothing to stop you cooking something up or proxying, saying, oh, I'll use the Brotherhood of Steel card, but I'll say it's Talon Company and paint it in the respective. That's the point. It's your game as much as ours, and you're free to kind of proxy and paint the color schemes you want to see. Like, no one's coming to your house to tell you you're having fun wrong. I always maintain that is my formal line: is you do fun your way. I'm not coming to tell you no. So yeah.
And if you do come up with stuff like that, share it with the rest of the Fallout community, whether it's on the Facebook pages, whether it's on our forum, whether it's on our Discord, wherever you do your Fallouting, share it. That stuff's amazing. Is there anything else we'd like to cover in the Assault Force?
Just these are a resin kit again. So the T45s are the only plastic kit in this block, but they are certainly not the only. I mean, the fact it's Modiphius Plastic 02 tells you it can't be the only plastic kit in existence. But yeah, that's it for this block.
Excellent. So then, let's move on to there are just the 2 sets for the Enclave.
Okay.
The next one, Domesticated Deathclaw. You say, what could this possibly can't be a terrifying thing with an amazing hat? Oh no, wait, it can. It can indeed. There he is. Look at him. What a guy. So, see people going in chat going, yes. It's like, I don't know why. I feel looking at this, I feel like this is one that Jonny would potentially have ring-fenced and gone, I'll do that. Is that the case, or is who's responsible for this beautiful creature?
And he is the master of Deathclaws. He's it's kind of tradition for him to handle the Deathclaws. Definitely, this would be a contender for ring fencing, but no, it just couldn't be. I mean, this is a known quantity for someone who's already, a huge Fallout fan on our team, and yep. So it's great. I mean, well, have we got? I don't want to actually spoil anything.
I think what you're about to say. The answer is yes. The next slide shows it. There we go.
I think yes. Yeah. There it is.
And we've got some modular.
Yeah. So just in case you're not Just in case you're not a fan of the Enclave instigated headgear, he can be a liberated Deathclaw. I take it. Although someone's already pointed out in chat who said that was like Taste of Those 2 was just like maybe Domesticated should be in inverted commas, but you got to try, haven't you?
So yeah, that was the thing. People have been asking, oh, what's coming for the Enclave, and I'd promised them new profiles that perhaps they wouldn't expect, and so that was we've got the new Scouts and now the new Domesticated Deathclaw as well. So it just adds more options. So the Enclave in the first block were very power armor heavy, which makes sense. They've got some of the best power armor. They do a lot of power armor, but it's just nice to have some other options. And I thought, what could be better than a gigantic gribbly monster? But as you say, it comes with an extra head. So that's now our 3rd Deathclaw. So we've got the Deathclaw, the Matriarch, and now the Domesticated. So if you want to run the Deathclaw family, you absolutely can. I'm looking at ways of allowing people to expand their options in terms of gameplay with creatures. So currently you need a creature controller to run creatures, but we're looking at how can you get it where actually maybe the Matriarch becomes the leader of the pack, and then you can have 3 Deathclaws causing mischief, and maybe other creature related factions are going to go down a similar line. So yeah, and maybe one day we'll do tiny Deathclaws.
Well, that's done now. You've said it. It's
sure,
going to have to happen.
I don't think there's any in game yet. Like it's always you get eggs and then you get a full size Deathclaw. I don't think we've seen anything in between, but who knows?
It's like in the Alien movies. they grow up very quickly off
Sure.
camera.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't happen, does it? But yeah, so this is kind of like the last set of Wave 8. We're going to cover some other stuff, but is anything anyone else would like to add? Do you want to go through like some... I'm always keen to know what people have their eye on as favourites, like things that they're just like, oh, that's the one, that's the one, or otherwise we can start talking about, like you said, we mentioned the book and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we just quickly touch on the book.
Sure.
So you know, we've been doing these expansion books now. New Vegas was the first one. So this is now fourth book we've done. Third book, yeah.
Third, I think, yeah.
Capital Forged. Oh, fourth. Capital. Sorry, yeah. This is the fourth one. Yeah, we did New Vegas, Commonwealth, Forged, and now Capital. So each one is iterating. And I think, you know, if you read today's blog, I did put a thing in the blog about I'm very keen to hear back from people. What is working with the books? What do they think we could do differently? Is there things we'd like to see? But I think the main thing for me with the books at the moment is it's about helping on board people, because I think one of the things I hear a lot when I talk to people at shows or I hear feedback from people on the internet and whatever is you know, once you get into the game, it's great, it's fine, it's easy, it's fun, but like that initial onboarding can be a little bit intimidating because of the sheer volume of cars and the sheer volume of tokens, and it's a lot to take on to get into the game. So one of the things I'm doing with the books is how to onboard people. So, you know, the things you've seen before, you'll see again. So there's, you know, miniature gallery of all the amazing new miniatures. There's some painting guides. And again, thank you to Julian for stepping on to help with the painting guides. And I can't wait to show you more of what Julian's doing for us in the future, because he has, much like Callum, basically. Callum and Julian were people that I've plucked out of the community. So community, I am watching you, and if you have talent that I have use of, I will come for you. It sounds more threatening than I think it was supposed to. That sounded really dark, actually. But yeah, so you know, Julian did the painting guides. We've got some brief tactical overviews and the scenarios. So that's kind of what we've done before with the books. But then there's this new things that we're doing as well, or an evolution essentially. So there's the Vault-Tec profiles, and so Vault-Tec is this idea that we're kicking around at the moment, and again, it may develop into something else. So this idea of the Vault-Tec simulator. So you know, you're in your vault. You know there's a wasteland out there, but if you go out there, you mulch. So you go into your Vault-Tec simulator, and Vault-Tec trains you. You know, it's prepare yourself for the wasteland. And so the idea with the Vault-Tec profiles is the kind of first phase of that. And so what we've done is we've basically curated and provided pre-baked profiles, and we've done it for everything that you see in this wave. So all the Brotherhood, all the Enclave, all the survivors. And what it means is you can open your box and get your book and start playing, because points are there, or your caps are there, your profile cards are there, your weapon cards are there, any perks, any skills, any upgrades. And so all you need to do is either open the book to the right page or photocopy it, and you can play. And then as part of that as well, there's then the kind of Vault-Tec approved force lists. So it's Vault-Tec says, use these 500 caps and you can get playing and get going. And it's all just about getting people going faster and faster and faster, because once you've done that a few times and you're comfortable and you're familiar with the game, you're like, well, actually, do you know what? I want to put a different hat on this guy, or give him a different gun, or whatever it may be. But it's just helping on board people. Or if your mates are coming over and you're like, oh, I've only got 20 minutes, I don't have time to write a list. Cool, use a Vault-Tec approved list, grab your Vault-Tec profiles and get playing. So that's kind of that's quite a sizable chunk of this book. And again, it's an evolutionary process. So I don't think this is where it's going to end, but it's certainly where it's starting. More on that in the future. Very keen to hear how people find it. Do they like it? Do they think there's things we could do differently? So on and so forth. And then the other part that again is an evolution is with the Wasteland. So we talked about the Wasteland a while ago. So with the Commonwealth, we did the Wasteland tables. And then with Forged in the Fire, we did them again, but we made sure they actually contained all the mechanical text as well. So you didn't need to get the cards anymore. If, again, to save you shuffling cards and finding them, putting them in the order and all that stuff. It's like, no, here's your Wasteland deck. Ready to go out of the book. And then with Capital, same deal, all the rules on the sheets, everything, but the sheets are actually going to be separate. So they're double-sided sheets. I think there's 10 in this book, so 5 double-sided sheets, I want to say. And it means you've got 10 different preset Wasteland tables with all the mechanics and a regional rule for you to play with. And again, it's that thing of like, you sit down at the table, rather than have to spend all that time sorting all your cards and decks, you can just drop one of those down and get playing. And they've all been written to be thematic. So you'll be in a region that you'll know, and you'll find things that you would find in that part of the game, or there'll be events that tie into that part of the game. And again, I'm really keen to hear how people respond to them. I've just been writing a load of them for Nuka World, so I'm kind of in that space at the moment. And yeah, hopefully it really helps either get people playing faster, less stress, less time, time not rolling dice is time not having fun kind of thing. So it's that, how do I get you to the fun faster? It's not replacing the old, the core way of doing it. If you prefer to curate your own wastelands, you absolutely can. If you prefer to have that towering stack of cards, that's totally fine. As ever, I'm not the fun police. I'm not telling you how to have fun, but it's just giving people options to help them get into the game that much faster. So hopefully that's gonna encourage people and get new people on board, and also help the veterans just A, enlist new recruits, and B, just get playing. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think there's always that thing when people go, oh, I want to get new people into the game, and it's like, sometimes I've done this. It's like sometimes your enthusiasm to show all the details can be the worst thing against you. Yeah, so it's like just to have something where you can go, you can take from this list and you can run this, and maybe I'll mercilessly destroy you because that's the kind of gamer I am. But it still will give you that onboard idea, which is fantastic. There's been a few people asking questions about restocks of Wave 1. This isn't what we're really talking about today, but we'll touch on it briefly, which is just to say that it's coming. Do you want to say more than that?
I think that's quite an important piece of information. So January is the end of Wave 7, Forged in the Fire. There's 3 more packs that are coming in January. And then what we're going to do is we're not going to launch straight into Capital. We're going to take a couple of months break to restock as much as possible of all the stuff, because I know there's kits that have been out of stock. Again, to give people a little bit of context, this thing called COVID happened, and it has made getting materials and resources quite difficult. So it's quite hard to get rubber and resin at the moment, and without rubber and resin, we can't pour rubber and resin. And then B, we're always fighting that thing of like restock versus new product, and obviously new product's great for new people, but obviously core product is really helpful for new product is good for veteran players, but core product is quite important for new players. So like, we get it. I hear you, and so we're going to take that pause. Like, basically now, no capital is being manufactured. Instead, the restocks are taking the space for that, and so we should see a fairly healthy restock. The other thing that's been slowing things down is we've moved all that production. So anything from Wave 1 to 4 was originally manufactured by a third party. We have now brought that in-house, but what it means is we have to reprint and remaster every single kit. So doing 4 years worth of 3D printing and remastering and remolding and casting is quite a lot of work. So I get it. I know people have been chasing Liberty Prime. I know people have been chasing Milo Queens. It's not a mystery to me. I know it's frustrating. Please bear with us, and we are taking a 2-month pause to fill in those gaps.
And that kind of answers something that I saw someone say in chat, which is like, oh, I hope the new stuff doesn't like make the old stuff look shabby. It's like, no, the new stuff would look shabby if we didn't do this. It's like that is literally the case of making sure that they're up to the same the same level.
I mean, even to the point where Jonny and the crew have taken some of the first wave kits, and we've tweaked a few bits. We've bulked up some bits that were a bit more fragile, or no massive, like you'd be hard pressed to notice the difference, but there are a few very tiny differences in there for those who know where to look. And also things like oh, it's gone. My brain just deleted what I was about to say. There was something.
Sorry?
Oh yeah, the way they're cut. Some of the models will be cut in a slightly different way, because again, because we're using a completely different manufacturer and a completely different resin, and so on and so forth. Then we couldn't just take the old kits and plug them into the new resin and go. It was, no, we have to redo it. So that's again, it has to go back into 3D. They have to recut it, make that fit for purpose, so on and so forth. So yeah, there's a lot of technical stuff going on behind the scenes. I think the other thing as well is to kind of peek very, very far into the future. The introduction of plastic is going to allow us to move some of the line into plastic to speed that up, because it takes literally seconds to punch out a plastic frame. It takes a long time to tool it, but then it takes seconds to manufacture it, whereas a resin figure takes a lot longer to cast. So there are some obvious choices that will translate into plastic, which will then free up a huge chunk of capacity for the more specialist stuff, like the characters, the creatures, the monsters, the big kits that we can't do in plastic. So yeah, there's a plan. Unfortunately, as ever, time is the enemy, but we'll get there.
Yeah, it's tricky. You've all been very patient and all sat through us whittering on about Capital. Would you like to maybe know what's coming after Capital? I mean, I'm sure you know. It's this. we're going to do a little bit of a reveal of some Nuka World stuff. So, Wave 9, as has been said, is going to be Nuka World, and this is what the cover of the book is going to look like. It's going to be, as people are pointing out in chat, that's lovely, very lovely that is, and it is. Normally, in parts when we've done this as a little teaser, we've just gone, oh, that's it, we'll show you the cover art, and that's kind of it, and maybe hint about stuff and talk about stuff. But, well, we haven't had any videos today, so would you like to see some painted minis from Nuka World? Waiting for people to go, nah, it's
we
all
can't
right.
hear them, that's the trouble.
I know, that's the thing. I'm just like, Creeper says, yes, yep, yes, I guess if we must. Oh, they're all so witty on the internet, aren't they? Before we do that, what do we want to say about Nuka World?
So this is, like, Nuka World's an interesting one because this is the moment where we slightly go down the trouser leg of time. So this is very much the Fallout Wasteland Warfare expansion to Nuka World. And like I said, this is one I've had probably the most involved I've ever been, because actually I've written quite a big chunk of this, it turns out. So this will be everything that you've expected from all of the Wasteland Warfare stuff that's gone on in the past. You know, new factions, new models, new characters. You know, an awesome new promo, so on and so forth. But obviously, this has a new baby sister. So this is also then Fallout Factions. So Fallout Factions is our new game that we announced at ModCon last year, I want to say, Steve?
Yes.
No, ModCon earlier in the year. Sorry. So that's our skirmish war game that's more kind of PvP focused, and they are completely distinct. They are not the same rule set. They are not being written by the same people. I've got my friend James Hewitt of Necromunda fame. He's writing it for me at the moment, and it's very nearly done. We're about to hit layout, which is awesome. But obviously the miniatures are going to be the same for both. So if you're, this is going to come first. You're going to get your Nuka World first. It's going to be kind of latter half of next year. Which terrifyingly is scant days away. So I'm like, oh, next year. And it's like, oh no, next year is like not many days. But yeah, so kind of Q3 is where we're looking for Nuka World. Don't hold me to that if production decides to ruin me again. It's quite a big block. So this is kind of, we said Capital was kind of if Forged was like a half block, Capital was like a block, like a 3/4 block, and then Nuka World is kind of back to the full-on block, and there's a lot of awesome stuff in there. It's got 3 new factions. You can probably guess who they are. It's got some cool new creatures. It's got some cool new characters. And yeah, it's kind of again, I'm on that kind of development journey. I'm on that cycle of like, what do we need to do to smooth out some of the bumps in the game, help on board people, do cool new things as well. So how do we do different campaign settings or different modding rules? There's a lot going into this at the moment, and I've had the most fun with the achievements for this, because I think there's, again, if you know the game, hopefully you'll spot some of the little cute jokes that I try to weave in. Someone asked, is this another Asta cover? Yep, this is our 3rd Asta cover, so we've done 3 covers with him now. We did Forge in the Fire, we did the Capital that you've just seen, and now this Nuka World. Love working with the guy. He's just a delight. Like you show him things, you give him a terrible crude pencil sketch, and then he comes back with this, and you're like, yep, that's brilliant, thank you very much. So
I love this one. It looks like a Western poster.
Yeah. Oh, robots, yes, absolutely robots. Yes, I see you, Moshe Flip. Like, there are a lot of cool new robots. Cool. Oh, you can't see that robot. No. Some funky robots as well. So it's quite a broad expansion book that gives a lot of things.
Well, how about some things they can see? So Callum has been sitting very patiently, waiting. Finally, we're going to see something that Callum's worked on. These are all painted by Callum, and they all look great. First up, here is Savoy. Very spiky around the edges. I'm sure you'll agree. I don't know if you want to touch much on these or just let them go out there into the wild. Really, it feels like we maybe don't want to. This is far in the future, so let's not maybe go too deep down the rabbit hole. But if there are any brief headlines you want to say about any of these. Now's the
One
time.
thing to note as well: these aren't studio photos. I took these photos because they're still
Yes.
with me. So the photos aren't that great. Sorry, I'm not fainting at a photographer. I thank you everyone for being really kind. I really appreciate it. These were awesome to work on. I won't talk too much about them because it is a teaser.
Yep.
But I really enjoyed doing all of these. Yeah.
Next up, Nisha, which I think is an amazing looking mini.
That sculpt's awesome.
Yeah. I just love the and that sort of classic helmet, but it looks really nice, really weathered, really sort of beaten down. And then we have one more Nuka World mini to reveal. Gnarly. Very true, Cod the Flan. Most gnarly indeed. Sound like my father saying that. Here is Mags. Very swishy hair. But yeah, that is basically what we're going to show you from Nuka World. Just enough to wet the whistle. These three sculpts, these three minis, beautifully painted. We will do another one of these streams, I expect, at some point.
Callum, are you laughing?
I don't know. I mean, you've got some impressive locks there, Callum. I don't know if they're quite that sweeping, but
no, it was definitely a reference, I guess. But...
Fair enough. Exactly. Everyone in Modiphius ends up as a mini at some point in their career. If you're here long enough, no. Is that Jon's way of telling me I will never be a mini?
No,
He's like,
we're better than that. I don't believe in self-insert, but sure, if you really desperately need a mini, let me know and I'll put you as a corpse on a base or something.
It's like having a disease named after me. That's brilliant. Fantastic. I was the corpse on a base. But yeah. So yeah, we will do another one of these sort of like reveals when the time comes, but we wanted to sort of leave you guys with a little bit of Nuka Cola goodness, for Nuka World goodness for the future. I think we're kind of done, aren't we?
Yeah,
really?
I think that's kind of a nice run through Capital, a little bit of discussion about where we're going mechanically, and I think it's great to have Callum, and I think it's lovely to end showing. And like, if you think that's good, you should see the stuff that he's been sending me this week, because it's like, not to be too indulgent, but like it's far and away beyond that, and that is good. Like someone said, like the way you can do very clean looking dirty fabric and material is absolutely on the money. Like I said, there's a reason I saw you and was like, you will be mine. Get into the paint mines, Callum. And yeah, like the stuff that you're doing on Wave 10 is genuinely phenomenal. Oh yes. Any rules news for the Brotherhood? Yes, that's quite an important thing. The Brotherhood faction ability card has been updated for Capital. They have a rule now. So anyone that's been cursing the lack of faction abilities for the Brotherhood, it's coming. So yes, as well as being new troop options, they also get a mechanical bump, and that mechanical bump applies to both Maxon's Brotherhood and Lion's Brotherhood.
Excellent. I knew there'd be something. I forget. Can't just let it be remembered that I got things wrong. It's like we've all got to get something wrong. That is a good thing. Jonny, let's start with you. Are you anything to wrap up, or anything you'd like to add, or you don't have to? I mean, I don't know. I say this to people and they look a little bit scared. I'm like, but if it's just like anything you want to say about in general, that's always a good time.
Well, we've just had a lot of fun on that wave, and I guess my parting notes, recollections, was particularly having fun going back and doing some new Fallout 3 stuff. I think as sculptors, we have quite a lot of fun with those, in particular because when we work on Fallout 4 or Fallout 76 base sculpts, you can tell they did a lot of art direction in advance, and also the geometry of the assets that they're working with, they're quite well defined. When we go back to the Fallout 3 stuff, things become quite a bit looser in terms of our reference material. So we have quite an opportunity to impress our own interpretation on things, which is a fun change of pace. So that was enjoyable.
Nice. Cool. Callum, Any thoughts in general, or are you just like, I'm busy with Wave 10. This Wave 8, that's all the past for
This
me.
Wave 8, no, I've really enjoyed seeing all these models, especially that I've not worked on them. It's been fascinating. There's been a few
Was there anything
questions.
you hadn't seen before, or?
Oh, sorry, say it again.
Was there anything you hadn't seen before in this wave, or like you've not really taken a
Yes,
proper look at?
so I've not played too much of Fallout 3. I haven't played more Fallout 4 and 76. So like the Enclave, I knew about them, but I hadn't really seen their stuff. So seeing all those kind of different kind of combat armors was really exciting. Somebody pointed out in the comments that the painter had done kind of like a true metallic, it was almost like a non-metallic twist with the glazing, because you know there's such space to work on those metallic panels. I really like that as well. I can't remember who said it, but I've been excited seeing all that. It's been really nice.
Cool, excellent. John, any final words, or shall we call it a day?
Just thanks as ever to all of the awesome creatives that I work with. It's a shame Joanna was going to be with us, but she couldn't be with us today. She normally joins us for these chats, but thank you to Callum for stepping in at the 11th hour and covering beautifully. As ever, I am a very lucky man because I get to bask in the glory of other people's hard work. So it's always awesome. And again, just thanks to all the community as well. Like it's genuinely. Other than people that will not shut up about the master, I love you really. It's a great community. Like everyone's on board. Everyone's got the right fun and kind of right attitude. And it's really good fun interacting with you all. And hopefully you're happy with what we're doing. And trust me, there's so much more to come. Like if only you could see, as ever, like just off camera, there's a whole pile of toys, and I had to close my blinds because that entire windowsill is covered in pre-production. Callum has a question.
No, I'm sorry. I was saying.
Yeah.
Like,
see what I've got over there.
We have to hide the bodies before we come on screen. It's always fun when the samples arrive, and it's an awesome it's an awesome project to work on, and I work with really cool people, and I love it. So hopefully that was fun for everyone, and we'll see you probably fairly early in 2023 to show off Nuka World, because the bulk of it's painted. So
yeah, we'll probably be doing something like this. Like I said, if you haven't followed us here, please drop us a follow. Otherwise, I think the chances of people who are here in chat not having done everything, like all of the mailing lists, all of the follows, but the inner social media person in me cannot not say it. We're on Discord, so please check us out there. The link's been popping up in chat. Come and to have a word on our forums at forums.modiphius.com, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. Apparently Twitter is still around. It's not imploded yet, but we'll be there as long as that ship stays afloat. Callum is raising his hand. Sir, it's always bad when the new guy is like, please sir, may I talk?
I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
Painting questions in the chat, and I was just going to say, if you are interested in asking me about painting or how I've done something or any tips, you like message in the Discord or on the Facebook, and I'll see it, and I'm happy to chat about it, obviously, because we've got to wrap up. But
fantastic. Well, we will leave you all there. It's gone 5 on a Friday. Everyone else on this screen shouldn't be working anymore, and they still are. So we're going to head off. Have a lovely weekend, all of you at the chat. And if you celebrate Christmas, have a great time. If you don't, you can have a good time anyway. Just do whatever you want to do and have a lovely cold couple of weekends in December. That is it. We will be found at all of our usual places that I've already mentioned. Otherwise, we will see you very, very soon. Thanks for coming along. We'll see you soon. Bye.